All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. We're very excited to share more information about our security and compliance and some updates around that, including how SOC 2 can improve your contract and service, where security and compliance impact our product roadmap, and SSO implementation opportunities with PacerPro. Today, Donna Bala, our CTO with over 17 years of leadership experience, is going to present a little bit of information about SOC 2 and the compliance and what that means. She has significant security experience, and we're so fortunate that she's joined PacerPro, given the sensitive nature of the relationships we have with our customers and then our customers' clients and the information that that goes through our systems. It's imperative to have someone with her type of leadership putting us through the paces for security enhancements.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg, for the introduction. Hey, everyone, this is Dana Bala. As Greg mentioned, I have worked in enterprise security startups in the past. So I come from the angle of being a security vendor, which poses the other side of the problem, which is keeping bad actors at bay, and even proactively so. So I'm super excited to join here and answer any questions you may have regarding security, SOC 2 specifically, and also how it applies to legal tech. So Craig, over to you, however you want to drive this conversation.
Yeah, so the first big topic we have is how SOC 2 can improve the service they have with PacerPro on their contract.
Okay, great. So SOC 2 is usually not required, like there is no requirement that the legal technology vendor has to comply with SOC 2 or ISO 2700 series, sorry, 27000 series. But even though it's optional, I'm sure if any of you are from big law firms, then you know very well that you have your own IT representation, you have your chief information and security officer or equivalent role in your big law firm that would be making the case for your technology vendor to be SOC 2 or equivalent compliant, right? So there is the push from the legal firms, just technology standpoint and how they want to take their vendor landscape forward, given all the technology advancements in the legal tech firm. Just a problem number one, how you're able to embrace the technology vendor in a fast fashion while making sure that all your customer sensitive information is kept safe, right? So there's push from your side, from our side, from the technology vendor side, even though we have our important strategic initiatives where we demonstrate value add to your workflow or legal insights or whatever be the use case in question, even though that's our primary goal, it is not like we can gloss over security, right? So it's important from our standpoint also that we prioritize security not as a business stakeholder, but as a technology and partner stakeholder for our customers in question. So how it improves your contract and service, SOC 2 basically brings in under it an umbrella of policy definitions and implementation, and SOC 2 Type 2 specifically covers the efficiency or the accuracy with which the policies that were put in place are being followed, right? So SOC 2 Type 1 and Type 2 compliance demonstrates that a technology vendor has a whole suite of policies related to security in place, which means that the legal firm that's consuming our product can rest assured that whether it's access control, whether we are following principle of least privilege. I'm sure you've heard of the term zero trust model, wherein in the legal space, you say on the lighter note, a given person is is innocent unless otherwise proven, right? So that's your legal mantra. In security, the mantra is completely flipped over. Everybody is guilty unless proven otherwise. So that's where the zero trust model comes from. So I'm going to pause here because obviously SOC 2 is a broad topic. So if there are any questions or if there are any areas that you would like me to delve deeper into, I'm happy to do that.
You can raise your hand if you have a question. While we wait for those questions, Donna, is it safe to say that SOC 2 is an opportunity for it makes it easier for firms to implement because we've already gone through a third-party analysis of security protocols and procedures to ensure compliance with best practices?
Yeah, so from the law firm standpoint, it's more about the trust aspect, right? So you're basically entrusting sensitive information of your clients with a potential technology vendor, right? So it's a question of how we can, in a quantitative manner, gain that trust, right? So I think it's more about the controls we have in place. So from the law firms for idea, think about, the last time there was a phishing attack, or if there was a ransomware attack, hopefully not in any of your firms, but I'm sure you've read in on the internet about these very high profile and, reputation damaging and or, basically business damaging ransomware attacks, especially on large legal firms that then have to face the brunt of, hey, okay, now that a breach has happened, how do I recover from it, right? So that's basically on the being on the receiving end of the spectrum, which is, okay, I've got a breach. Now I have to see, whether my client's sensitive information was stolen, or was it munged? What's more damaging than stolen information? Arguably, I would say that more damaging than stolen information is munged information. So the bad actor basically gets into your database or data tier, and they basically cause havoc to the existing records on all your tables, so that it cannot be consumed in any fashion, right? I mean, I'm not saying stolen information is bad. I'm saying equally bad is the case of lost or munged information. So from the law firm's angle, you have to think about, hey, do I trust a technology vendor that has tried to put checks and balances to prevent in various shapes and forms bad actors that could get a hold of my client's customers and sensitive information, or do I not care about it, right? So it's a question of how much you care about keeping your client information safe. Does it answer your question, Greg?
Yes, and we have a question from Susan. Susan, that's a great question. What is SOC 2? Donna, would a good definition of SOC 2 be that it's a set of universal standards for security that are certified by an outside third party to give us that kind of credentialing to ensure that we are in compliance with best security practices for digital handling of sensitive information?
Yep. Thank you, Greg. That's a great a summary of SOC 2. There's some specific pillars that are covered as part of SOC 2 are security, availability, integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. These are thought to be as the 5 pillars of SOC 2. If you want to sort of talk about SOC 2 from a layman's perspective, right? Like think boutique law firm. I don't care about technology as much as I care about trying to gain some good customers and having a good law firm establishment, right? So the SOC 2 and security is nowhere on your radar. So let's start from there, right? So if you're there, think about it this way, right? Let's say there's a large potential firm looking to have business with you. Now they're going to entrust with you a whole bunch of information and sensitive information from their end, right? So they're going to hand off to you sensitive information, and now their concern is how that information is going to be secured by you, right? So if you didn't have any technology in your minimalist law firm, then you would basically be doing paperwork, right? It's the good old-fashioned way of having papers and sifting through them, trying to take notes, and however you go forward with your law practice. Now, the minute you introduce technology firm, it's a different question altogether, but it's a question in itself, because it's very, in these days, it's very challenging to not embrace technology and still stay in law practice, right? So you would sort of be left alone. So we're in the phase of legal tech where if you didn't embrace technology, you're sort of thought as not current or not contemporary, right? So there is push from the industry, and there is push from your own law firm's perspective to be more efficient, faster, cheaper for your customers, and also while being able to thrive as a business, right? So there's and providing rich, insightful data to your clients, right? So those are your table stakes, but then how you get them done, whether it's through technology or not, it has a bunch of problem statements to solve. What I'm trying to say is once you embrace technology, then you have to answer the next level of question. Okay, I have this technology vendor that I'm going to leverage to provide services to my client, but then can I trust this vendor with all the customer sensitive information, right? So that's where security and SOC 2 comes into picture. What SOC 2 essentially says in a simplistic way is that the technology vendor that you're investigating, they have done the homework and due diligence to make sure that their software development practice, how they host their deployment on production, how they run business as a whole, follows best security best practices, right? You can think about some examples like access control. Who has access to the production database? If you're following if SOC 2 requires following principle of least privilege, which means that the site reliability engineer or whoever is supposed to have permissions to the production database to run to perform their their responsibilities, only they have access to the data tier, right? So that's an example of a SOC 2 policy and control, right? So we have 100 such policies throughout the business that together can be consolidated and then be certified by this third party called American Institute of CPAs, AICPA. And there's a whole bunch of companies that are certified auditors. One of them called Prescient is helping with our audit. They're third party, so they look at it with a neutral pair of eyes and then look at our controls in place and then declare whether we are compliant or not, right? So that's where the drive for why you as a law firm need to even know about SOC 2. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So in terms of our security, or how the SOC 2 impact our compliance and product roadmap, what would you say, where does that fall and how do we think about it in terms of our product today?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's also challenging. It's a challenging question for any technology vendor that prioritizes security, right? And the reason why it's challenging is because there are the business objectives for a company, and then there are table stakes. So security and compliance falls under table stakes, which means there's not going to be a business push for it. There's going to be best practices or a community or good citizen side to the roadmap that brings up the priority for security and compliance, right? So, and also it's not, it cannot be glossed over just because, if I mentioned that we have hundreds of policies that together form SOC 2 compliance. So you can only imagine how much time gets spent to A, introduce these policies, and B, to ensure that it's continuously operational, right? Which is type 2. So security is an initiative for any technology company that cannot be belittled or glossed over. So then it then becomes an initiative in itself, right? So then you have to sort of keep that as a parallel track with all your other business initiatives and make sure that you have a team that helps with the progress made in the security and compliance area, and that it's not just a small team that's worried about it. In fact, it has to be treated as security is everybody's problem, right? Like whether you're in CX or engineering or sales, it doesn't matter which department in the company, but security is something that has to be in the DNA or in the culture fabric of a company. So that's how I would look at security on our roadmap. So we do have conscious roadmap items like SOC 2 type 2 compliance, which we are in the thick of right now. And then we have, security in the fabric of the culture, which means that, there are, whenever, let's pick on any random story that gets created for a developer to work on, right? So we have what's called a design review phase and an API review phase. These are two examples of engineering best practices that we have put in place. But the reason I'm mentioning this is in the design review phase, when the developer makes even a small change to the system, proposed change, they bring to the collective intelligence the pros and cons of this design, especially also from a security angle, right? So we discuss as a group, what are the security pros and cons of introducing this change, and then we make a conscious call about pay now versus pay later, and how that reflects to our customers from a security angle. So this is back to the point of security not just as a roadmap, but as a part of your business DNA or your culture DNA. If that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. If you could hang around for just a minute in case anyone has any questions, I'll go ahead and cover our last topic, which is SSO implementation. So if you have any questions for Donna, please feel free to insert them into the chat. This is going to be a very short section. So I know many of you, especially if you're in a large firm, you do have SSO requirements with your IT, and you use it to do your login into a lot of different systems. But we do have the ability to leverage SSO implementation for PacerPro as well. And oftentimes that's a request from different firm IT departments. We do that through an enterprise partner, and it's a setup process that requires you to contact our support team. They will initiate the setup and the necessary account changes. And it only takes about 30 minutes to do that configuration. So it's a very quick, painless, easy way to provide an additional layer of security for your accounts and peace of mind to your firm and IT teams that you have taken extra steps to secure any kind of vendor that you're working with, in particular us. So if you have any questions on that, I would recommend contacting our support team. They can check to make sure that we do have an integration with whatever SSO provider your IT department uses. This third-party partner that we utilize does integrate with almost every large enterprise solution. So it would be surprising if we didn't have that integration, but they can discuss the specifics with you on your account and what that would mean from a timing and setup perspective. I don't see any additional questions. Anyone want to raise their hand, or any other questions about SSO or anything that we have discussed today? All right, well, I want to thank you all for attending. This has been I hope this has been informative. If you do have any questions or concerns, please reach out to our support team at support@pacerpro.com, and they'd be happy to discuss security or any other account-related questions that you may have. So thank you for attending today, and we'll make this recording available shortly.